and that center is written with R-E and not with E-R. I would probably struggle with that. so again, the email address is islandcenter@bcsupportunit.ca. Oh yeah, we're going to do something really fun, and that is when speakers are done and sort of in between, we're going to do some live research. So there's going to be some live polling we're going to do. And Tara, my colleague Tara, is going to help you out with that. And I always love it because we get to ask questions right here, and then we get to see the results right away. So it's kind of like, you know, research in real time, which is really great. So I'm looking forward to that. We're going to transition to some skill building booths at the end of the talks, and you're going to get a little bit more information about the skill building booths at the end of the talks, and we're going to let you know a little bit more about them. What else do I need to let you know? So, after the speakers, the skill building booths, and now I think it is time to invite our speaker who's going to provide the opening remarks, and this is Colleen McGavin, and she is the patient engagement lead for the BC Support Unit. And I am not going to give you a big introduction because we actually have bios that were outside, so you might have grabbed a bio of some of the speakers and grab a bio. Rebecca is here, and she will actually distribute all the bios, and that way you have a lot of background information on our speakers, and you'll have it with you and have like lasting info on them.
Maybe just to show up and say what the bios are going through. Okay.
So without further ado, I would like you to help me welcome Colleen McGavin.
And I just thank you for inviting me here today to deliver the opening remarks. So I assume that many of you are here today because you're curious. And so I'd like to start by telling you a little about my own journey in health research, just to show how one never knows where the road may lead, and to illustrate some of the opportunities that exist for patients and the public to become meaningfully engaged in health research. So I started out as a patient partner, and in fact, one of my first engagements right in this room 5 years ago, when I attended a session during 5 days in May, and helped, along with a couple of other patient partners, to judge some poster competition, or a poster competition. Now, I've taken a circle route, keeping with the theme of journeys and traveling, and my journey, as you can see, has brought me right back to this room. And at that time, I never really guessed where this journey might take me. It was pretty hard to predict. But not long after that day, we were a research team, and we're studying how to support heart failure patients using technology. It started when I wrote a testimonial to help get the grant to do the research. And then I was invited onto one of the subcommittees of the research team, and ultimately I was invited to be on the steering committee of the team. And we're in year 3, I think, of a 4-year project. We're sort of midway through year 3. In 2015, so about 4 years ago, I actually came out of to take on my present job, which is to lead efforts in BC to get more patients and the public engaged in health research. I'm also a member of the College of Reviewers for Canada's main health research funder as a patient partner and member of the public. And when I sit on a review panel, as I recently did in Ottawa just last month, I have an equal voice in deciding which research projects get government funding. 2 weeks ago, I returned a trip to Toronto, where I had an equal voice in determining a top 10 list for priorities for research in anesthesia. So when I started 5 years ago, judging a poster competition in this room, I knew very little about health research, and the learning curve has been very steep. But to say the least, that journey has been very exciting and rewarding. And hopefully, by the end of this afternoon, some of you will have decided to touch with Island Health Research Department and the BC Support Unit to explore future opportunities for yourself. Based on my experience in keeping with the theme, putting citizen science in the driver's seat, I'd say we've come a long way, but we still have a long way to go towards democratizing health research and truly incorporating the patient and public voice, which is not surprising really when you consider that this movement only started in Canada in 2011. The Canadian Institute for Health Research, which is Canada's main health research funder, launched the Strategy for Patient-Oriented Research, as it's known. It's called SPOR. So what is patient-oriented research? Well, traditionally, patients and the public have been study subjects, also known as study participants. And in that case, research is about and for patients and the public. Now, being a very important role, I've done it myself, and I encourage you to sign up if you ever get a chance. Patient-oriented research, on the other hand, is described as research by and with patients and the public. So not about and for, but by and with. The BC Support Unit, which is the organization I work for, we exist to support the conduct and implementation of high-quality patient-oriented research. We officially launched about 3 years ago, and I'm proud of the progress we've made, especially when you consider that we're talking about a major culture shift away from research driven almost exclusively by academics to research done in partnership with patients and the public and other stakeholders. So Sterling Bryan, where are you sitting over there, will explain why it matters. What is the fundamental challenge that patient-oriented research is meant to address? Now, a bit of a spoiler alert, if you don't mind, Sterling. It has everything to do with research impact. In Canada, taxes fund over $1 billion of health research every year. That was a shocking number to me when I started out in this role. Yet studies have shown that only about 14% of research findings make their way into day-to-day clinical practice and policy, and that on average it takes 17 years for research for that to happen. So many believe that by voices of the end users, patients and the public, clinicians and so on, that we can improve those numbers. There's also a moral argument, even if we can't yet substantiate that hypothesis, that says that people have a right to be involved in endeavors that affect them and that they pay for with their tax dollars. The other panelists are going to talk about how to get involved, what makes a good engagement, and I'm sure what are some of the roadblocks and potholes that they face, and what is the right fit, finding the right fit. You'll learn that there is a spectrum of engagement all the way from informing, which is what's happening today, putting out information so people can learn, through consulting, which is basically getting feedback on ideas that others have generated, moving up towards collaboration, where you're starting to talk about true partnership and equal voices, and then all the way up to empowerment, which is truly when you put patients and the public into the driver's seat. One of the most interesting has been experiencing the rise of the empowered patient, leading research. Now this is rare and not without its challenges, but it is happening. And Lisa, I believe, who's on the panel, may be able to tell you more about that. And if she doesn't have a lot of time to talk about it on the panel, you might want to grab her after. So I'm really looking forward to hearing what the panel has to say and to the rest of the afternoon. So I'd like to turn it over now to Tara, I think, who's going to do a quick poll. Enjoy the afternoon, because I know I don't. Thanks.
Okay. I think we have a couple more slides here. I'll just buzz through these. There are a couple of requests to try and be open and respectful of the idea. Shares to keep comments concise if we can, there should be some time for questions, and to consider any potential research ideas that you have, because we would be very interested to hear them. This is kind of what our day is going to look like, and without any further ado, do you all have one of these fabulous little remote-looking thingers? Hopefully. Does anybody need one?
If you don't have one, just put your hand up and
We'll get you one.
They're like fancy remotes.
So we're going to try something a little bit new and different and exciting today. So you will see that these have like numbers and letters on them. So we're going to start this with a fun question and ask, how did you get here today? So A, on foot, B, by bicycle, C, by car, D, by public transit, or by camel, magic carpet, or some other mode of transportation. So if you could push the button that corresponds with how you got here today, and we'll give you a moment to come for that to all come through here. Oh, there they are. Good. There. We got 46. I think that's most of us. And so now, if I push this only once, it does. There! So most of us got here by car, but a beautiful 6% got here by some really interesting way, and I would be just personally curious to know what that was. Excellent. Yeah. Who has a magic carpet, and where did you park it? Great. Okay, so we're going to do one more here. Hear about today's event, so by email or electronic newsletters. Thank you. An events board in the community. Did somebody tell you about it? Events listing online or some other method. So you could make your selections. Ooh, speedy. Excellent. There we go. I think 46 is who we've got. Okay. Here we go. All right, so most of us are all tuned in online. Beautiful. Okay, thanks everybody. And so there's one more question here. So what comes to mind when you hear the words health research? About this a little bit already, but you're going to hear a lot more about it today. So do you think of people in white coats working in laboratories, drug companies working for their shareholders, teams composed of healthcare providers, academics, and patients all working together? Or maybe you just haven't given it much thought before today, and that's totally okay as well. Okay, let's see. You've all been primed, I see. Excellent.
This are kind of, are we going to move the needle question? So how?
Clearly not. We're preaching to the converted in here. Excellent. Okay, so without any further ado, thank you. Hang on to these things because we're going to come back to these. So I'm going to turn it over to Sterling Bryan. Fabulous presentation on why health research wants you to get involved.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, and thank you very much for the invitation. It's fabulous to be in Victoria again, and thanks for putting on such great weather for us. Okay, so I'm going to deal with this question of why health research wants you to get involved. So what I'd like you to do, just so I get a sense of the audience, if you could all stand for me at this point, please. If you're feeling comfortable standing, don't feel you don't have to stand. So if you sit down, if you would describe yourself as a researcher, if you could sit down at that point, and if you would describe yourself as a clinician, if you would describe yourself as a decision maker or a policy person, okay. And if you would describe yourself as someone with lived experience or as a patient. Okay, so I'm not quite sure who the rest of the people are. But it's great to have you here anyway. So that gives me a sense of, so maybe like one of those people, like one or two of those people who are still standing standing, could you just tell me those 4 categories didn't fit for you, so maybe what a category would have fit for you? Yeah. Research support staff. Yeah. Okay. Great. Anyone else?
Communication staff.
Communication staff. Great. Okay. Lovely. Yeah.
More than one of the above.
More than one of the above.
I probably fit into one, but kind of span a few.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Lovely. Good. That's really helpful. Thank you very much, Ian. So I'm a researcher. I'm the scientific BC support unit, and someone who traditionally didn't really do patient-oriented research, but someone who actually thought that they were doing patient-oriented research. So for me, there was a road to Damascus moment when I actually had to sort of look at myself in the, I suppose, in the mirror, and realise that in fact I wasn't quite who I thought I was. And actually, I thought I was doing patient-oriented research, but probably wasn't. And now I'm someone who has this, I would describe it as a passion for doing patient-oriented research. In terms of disclosures, just so that everyone knows, I am, as I've said, the scientific director for the support unit, it's Science Network, so apologies for acronyms. Support is an acronym, HSN. Actually, isn't an acronym because an acronym you need to be able to pronounce as a word, but anyway, it's a shortening. I work at Vancouver Coastal Health, so I've got a connection to a health authority as well as to a university. I'm a faculty at the University of British Columbia. So I don't think any of that actually does conflict in relation to the presentation. Okay, so we're going to talk briefly about Canada's strategy for patient-oriented research, which is incredibly exciting as a strategy. It's a huge investment that the Canadian government has made in changing the way that we do health research in Canada. So Canada, in many regards, is leading internationally in this direction, in engaging strongly with patients with lived experience to make sure that we're doing research that matters fundamentally and is seen as being important to people who live lives with chronic conditions. So it's a new partnership, and it's a partnership that involves researchers, it's a partnership that involves care providers, it's a partnership that involves health system decision makers and policy makers. But then the piece that I think is now to the strategy is actually listening effectively to the voices of those with lived experience. So we're actually trying to change the culture of health in Canada. And I think we're making great progress. I think we're seeing that change happening. It's almost shocking to sort of turn around now and say that we didn't do this all the time. That we actually had research that was happening in Canada, in British Columbia, where we weren't actually asking people whether this was the important question. We were actually going ahead with research, thinking that this was going to be important to patients, thinking that this was going to bring improvement to patients, but not actually engaging with those people as members of our research teams. I mean, it is I now find it almost sort of, I think what world were we living in? That we actually did that and actually took research forward that was driven either by the research community or by stakeholder groups. So I think it's tremendous that we're doing this. It's an international movement. So I wouldn't want to say that Canada's the only country that's doing this. It is an international movement. We're certainly big players in this international movement, which is fabulous to be part of. So what do we mean by patient-oriented research? So there's a definition on the CIHR. CIHR is the Canadian Institutes for Health Research. There's a definition on their website that is pretty difficult to really understand. So one of the things that we did in the support unit here in British Columbia was come up with a definition that we think is a bit more accessible and a bit more basic. So what we say is it's research done in partnership with patients. So it's in true partnership with people with lived experience. And we'll talk a little bit about what we mean by that partnership. It answers research questions that matter to people who live their lives with the condition in question, or their lives with the caring for people with the condition in question. And it aims to improve healthcare, obviously. We're only in the business of trying to do research that's going to lead to some improvement. And so that has to be part of it. So it's got a systems focus, but it's fundamentally about making sure that we're seeing this piece done. So I want to give you an example. So this is work that we did, that I was involved in with my colleagues in Fraser Health, where we have a large South Asian population. And we've done work on why is it that patient knee replacements are often dissatisfied. We actually see something like 1 in 5 patients at about a year after their surgery expressing some level of dissatisfaction with the outcomes of their surgery. It's not to say that they wouldn't have done that they wish they hadn't have done the surgery, but there's a level of dissatisfaction. And so we wanted to understand what that's about and why that is the outcome that we often see in knee replacement patients, and can we improve that? So what we focused on when we did our original research was ethnicity. So in fact we had very few people who came from a South Asian background. And so we wanted to understand whether there was variation by ethnic group. So this was a piece of work that we did that looked at the research priorities specifically for patients and caregivers of people who've had a knee replacement who come from a South Asian background. And one of the interesting findings was the proportion of people, the very large proportion of people who expressed this concern about kneeling and squatting. That actually, the implant itself actually prevents people, or at least some people, from being able to kneel when they have their knee replacement. And they say that no one ever told me that. And no one ever told me before the surgery that this might be a challenge. And so it's interesting when you actually ask people these questions, you get some answers that cause concern. It seems like such an obvious thing. Like now you reflect on this, you think like, well, you know, there's a problem. There's a big problem that we've uncovered that we need to take seriously and address. And only through doing patient-oriented research are we discovering these sorts of things and these sorts of questions. So why patient-oriented research? As Colleen has indicated, my thunder entirely, but thank you, Colleen, for highlighting the moral argument. I think it is, and this is one that I think, you know, I just like, it's just within me. I mean, I think that we need to be doing patient-oriented research for a moral reason. There's an ethical argument that says you have the right as an individual to be involved in endeavours that affect you. I mean, again, like, you know, are we seriously suggesting that anyone's going to challenge that? I hope not. I really hope not. Maybe I should ask you to stand up now if you think that. But there's also an impact argument about we want actually to see that research has impact and is leading to change in practice. And by engaging patients, but also by engaging clinical folks, we see an opportunity to have that much greater impact. So I think there's both a moral argument as well as an impact argument, and both of them I think we need to be shouting. There's a relevant argument. We're going to make sure that the questions that are addressed are the important questions. And only by discussing the questions with people with lived experience do we ensure that we're truly focusing health research on what really matters. And there's a quality argument. We actually want to make sure, so one of the things that I insisted on when we were talking about a mission statement for the support unit and the strategy for patient-oriented research was that we were doing high-quality patient-oriented research. And actually, like, what I mean by high quality is we're doing rigorous research, but we're also doing research in a way that engages and draws upon the unique perspectives of people with lived experience as well as the research community. So we're in the business of patient engagement. We're in the business of ensuring and trying to build bridges to folks who have. And this is the definition that the strategy has for patient engagement. It's meaningful, and active collaboration in all aspects. So that's in the governance of research. So we've engaged patients now, and the Islands Health Regional Centre has patients involved in governance, as well as the main support unit provincially. In priority settings, what are the questions that matter in the conduct of research? How do we do it? Examples of actually bringing a patient perspective to the conduct of health research, leading to improvement in the quality of the research that's being done. So we're actually finding ways of ensuring that we're getting more participants because we're working with patients who can understand the perspective of people when they're being approached to participate in research, as well as that knowledge translation about making sure that the evidence that we generate has impact. The spectrum of engagement is one, again, that was highlighted, and we're certainly trying to move as far as we can to the right. Is it your right? Yes, it is your right. In the spectrum. So we're certainly not wanting to simply inform or consult or even to involve. We actually want to have true collaboration with stakeholders. And that means partnering. That means about having folks who are true partners, who sit at the table with the research team, that get reimbursed if they wish to for committing time to being true partners in the health research enterprise, so that we can make sure that we're delivering a piece of work that's going to be a piece of work that we're all believing to be important and can be proud of. And even now, moving, as Colleen highlighted, and we want to be making sure that, in fact, we have citizen scientists that work as part of teams, but actually, like, the questions can come from, and I think we'll have examples of that from folks with lived experience, so that we can actually work with and actually see leadership from patient partners, from public partners in health research as well. So I wanted to highlight, I mean, one of the things that's a glass half full type person, but let me just like stray a little bit into maybe a glass half empty person temporarily, and then I'll come back to being a glass half full person, I promise. So this was a piece of work that was done looking at how do we do patient engagement in health research. And one of the shocking things that it came up with was to say that we really don't know. One of the things that I think we're wanting to work with patient partners on is how do we do this well? How do we do this? How can we partner with people in a way to ensure that we have success in the research enterprise? And I don't want to fool anyone to say that, like, we know exactly how to do this, we know every piece of this, we know a lot, but there's a lot we don't know as well. And so part of what we're trying to do with the strategy and certainly with the support unit in BC is actually learn how to do this well, so that we can respect people's time, we can engage people in conversations where it's appropriate to do that, target the engagement in a way that's going to ensure that we have a true partnership with folks. So that's one of the things that we're trying to do. And we're trying to do this within the BC support unit through what we call methods clusters. So we have a methods cluster that's on patient engagement. And our methods cluster on patient engagement is about and embracing diversity in patient engagement and research in BC. So we want to actually listen to people with a diverse range of voices. We want to hear from people who we don't often hear from. So we don't want to hear necessarily just from the same folks who have loud voices. We want to make sure that we're providing opportunities for engagement across the board from a broad range of stakeholders, a broad range of perspectives, as we did, so for example, with our focus in the South Asian community. So we want to have that diversity piece. And I'll just put a shout out quickly to Erin Mahalik for the Patient Engagement Methods Cluster. And today was a very special day because it was announced by CIHR that she was the winner, she is this year's winner, what's called the Gold Leaf Prize, and she is going to be awarded the Gold Leaf Prize for her research in patient engagement. So it's fabulous, and I'm delighted that I can share that news today because she deserves that so thoroughly. So just to close, health research wants you to get involved. So patient-oriented research is about having partnership with our stakeholder communities. So fundamentally it's about patients and people with lived experience. It's also about partnership with clinical colleagues and with policy colleagues as well. So that we can have this true partnership in health research, so that we can do high quality health research that is truly patient oriented. I'll stop at that point, and I hope we have a minute or two for questions. Good. One at the back.
You sound like that.
Okay, there we go. I'm talking about all this and worked in the area now. Do you have a best case example of how something's really worked well so far in a patient-oriented?
So a best case example of something that's worked well in patient-oriented research. So, I mean, there are lots that we could choose from. I mean, I think like the success that we've seen in the BC support unit. I mean, one of the areas where I guess we've been challenged more than some areas is thinking about governance and actually bringing patient voices into the governance of the support unit. So actually, like that's of providing strategic direction to the work that we do. And we've done that. I mean, what we've done is that, I mean, two things. One is, and full credit to Colleen McGavin, we've created a patient council at a provincial level for the support unit, and we have that patient council, and we bring to that patient council questions about strategic direction as well as some more operational questions. So I would say that's a success story in terms of one of the things we've done. And actually within each of the regional centres as well, we've had patient engagement at a strategic level as well as an operational level. And there are different structures. Each regional centre is doing something a little different. This is Canada after all, and so we encourage people to do things in a way that matches their local environment. So we have seen that as well. So I would point to that as being a major success, something that I wasn't sure how we would do, but thanks to Colleen's leadership and the leadership of others in the unit, we've been able to move that forward.
Thank you.
There was a question. Yeah.
Thank you for that wonderful, highly energetic presentation. Fantastic. Can you comment just a little bit on the journey to shift the culture of the health system and the health research system to really empower people?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think we don't want to believe that we've won the battle. So we haven't won that battle at this point, I don't think. There's resistance. So maybe I'll talk first of all in terms of the culture shift on the research side, and then within the health sector side. So on the research side, I'm involved with quite a few sort of committees and stuff with CIHR, and I hear like things. SPOR is taking too much money. Like there's too much money being dragged out of other parts of the CIHR budget that's going to the strategy. So that sort of grumbling is around. And I think that what's sort of tempering that to some extent is actually a recognition that a patient-oriented approach is relevant regardless of where you are in this spectrum of health research. Research is often split into what's called biomedical and clinical, health services, and public and population health. And even at the biomedical level, where you're largely doing experiments that are in test tubes, or you're doing experiments that are on animals, And we're not suggesting that we should have a strategy for animal-oriented research. We did have some discussion of that yesterday. But even at that level, it seems appropriate to be asking the question, why the focus? And people are now recognizing that even in biomedical research, there's a role for people with lived experience to be guiding the direction. And so I think that the culture is changing, but I wouldn't want to say that we've won that battle entirely. So that grumbling is still happening. I mean, in the health sector, I think there's a long history of folks volunteering their time involved in a number of quality improvement type initiatives, and I think we see that. And I think one of the things that we need to try and do, very much building on the conversation that I had with Cindy earlier today, is actually to try and bring the work that's happening to engage patients in the health system to talk more effectively to the work that's happening in the health research world to engage patients in health research. And I think we need to make sure that we're learning from each other, understanding that we're doing something a little different, but there is some fundamental parallels and opportunities for learning across those worlds, I think, as well. Great. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Sterling. All right, so everybody can brandish your clickers again. Does anyone have one of these fun little technology bits? We need one at the back. Jenny, do you have one?
Here. Here we go.
Okay, so when you are ready, how interested are you in getting involved in a health research project? You can be honest, it's okay. It's totally anonymous. So are you very interested, somewhat interested, not interested, maybe not sure yet, or on what type of project? Almost there. Do a couple more seconds. There's maybe some thoughtful people out there. Or maybe some people left. That's also possible. Okay, I think we're stable at 44. So let's see here. Fairly interested. Excellent. Well, I hope you'll stick around and talk to us some more later. We have another question here. If you were interested in becoming involved in health research, what kind of a role do you think you'd prefer? What kind of involvement do you think you'd want to have? Would you want to be a participant or a subject, like filling out a survey or being in a clinical trial? Maybe as a member of the research team, like helping to choose which question is studied? As a member of an advisory committee, so sort of in governance or providing advice or feedback as part of a group, any combination, or just hard no, you don't want to be involved in health research. Give you a couple more seconds. We're dropping it like flies. Okay. Here we go. Oh, very cool. It is interesting. That's great. So I guess it probably, lots of varied interest across the board. All right, thank you. Okay, so you can hang on to these for a little bit later, but I would like to introduce to you our next speakers. So Ashley Clark and Lisa Ridgway are going to speak next.
Okay, hi everyone. Thank you for joining us today. Sorry. Speak loud. Is that right? Okay. So today we're going to be talking to you about finding the right opportunity and maximizing impact. But before we get started, my name is Ashley Clark. I'm an engagement BC Patient Safety and Quality Council on the Patient and Public Engagement team. It's kind of a mouthful, but we support the Patient Voices Network. In more detail in a minute. I'm also a master's candidate at the University of Victoria in the Social Dimensions of Health program. My research focus there is on quality of life of inflammatory bowel disease patients, so I'm really excited for our next talk too. So really both professionally and academically, while I'm also personally very passionate about patient experience, as I'm sure we all are. And now I'll let our lovely patient partner, Lisa, introduce herself.
Hey, I'm a patient partner. I'm the first patient partner to stand up here, aside from Colleen. So I'm going to take us away on a journey about patient-led and patient-oriented research. But before I do that, I love to talk about other people. So Cindy Triton is sitting the third row in, and she is a visionary head of the Research Capacity Building Department at Environmental Health. And if it weren't for Cindy, we wouldn't be here. So thank you very much, Cindy. Thank you very much. And I'm going to talk about Dr. Hamilton, who is sitting just behind Cindy. Cleon is a consummate, thank you, a consummate collaborator. You won't find another person, another academic, or another researcher more interested in patient engagement. Now, Adrian Dix just told the British Columbia public that there's a lot of money that's going to go into arthritis research. 7 or 8 million people in British Columbia are affected by arthritis research, and Clayton does patient-oriented and engaged work with Arthritis Canada. So kudos to Clayton for being a leader in patient-oriented research. And I'm going to talk about a guy that's not here, Chad Dickey. Chad Dickey is my co-lead, co-principal, and co-investigator on a patient-led project called Does More Mean More? There's a booth right there. Dr. Cleon Hamilton has kindly offered to assist Chad and I in the journey on a patient-led research project. And we are together going to be manning that booth. So come and talk to us if you want to learn more about patient-led research. Chad won the Patient Engagement Award for 2019 in the British Columbia Quality, Safety, and Patient Council. So I wish he was here. He is a role model-oriented research. He is a role model for volunteering. And Chad taught me that when you give to a volunteer organization, the one thing that you should always remember is that you're making it better for the next person to come along. So thank you, Chad, wherever you are, on a plane or volunteering somewhere else, he really is a role model. So in a world of flat screens and thin TVs and size matters, I want you to think outside the box. I want you to think about 3 dimensions. 3 dimensions. The first, disclosure. The second, demonstration. And the third, direction. So full disclosure, I do work with the BC Support Unit on Vancouver Island. They do fund in a small way, but a nice way, my research project, and they have for me to stand here today. Without them, I wouldn't be here. Now, full disclosure as a patient partner means that although I lead this research project, it's really cool, I've done some other interesting things. I've done a couple of bone marrow transplants in Australia for my brother, who eventually died of complications from the last one. That was in the Australian health system. He was an Australian citizen, I was a Canadian citizen, so I spent months in Australia preparing for and doing bone marrow transplants. He was sick with blood cancer for 9 years, and after he died, I spent a long time in a very deep depression. Treatment-resistant kind of depression you want to have, believe me. And I spent 9 months on this campus right here in the Eric Martin Pavilion on the 6th floor, which used to be called the Psychiatric Day Hospital, but now it's called the Mental Wellness. And because of those 9 months, and because of the support that I got from our healthcare system, because of the strong people that I work with at the BC Support Unit, I am well, or I am getting well. So there you go. That's full disclosure. Now you are, because of that second D, that demonstration, you are interested in learning about research. Maybe you want to lead your own research project. Maybe you want to be a part of a research project. Well, I'm going to tell you something, and it really is biased. The BC Support Unit and PVN, the people that work there, they are here to help you. And they want to help you get involved in research. So please believe me, it took me a little while to actually believe that these people, they want to help me? Wow, it's crazy. They are all for research and patient-oriented research. So please approach any of the team, including me, and we will cheerlead you. Now, direction is the last D I'm going to speak about, and my husband and I, we often talk about things over a glass of wine, you know, some pasta in front of us a couple of days ago, and he said, Lisa, you know, this patient-oriented stuff, you're all for it, right? You're all in it, and I really enjoy it, but, you know, and I looked at my husband and I thought to myself, did my husband actually ask me for directions? But no. He didn't. He just said, where are you going with it? And I said, you know, I don't know exactly where I'm going with it, but I'll tell you what, I'm heading in the right direction. Because patient-led research could be the new frontier. So remember the 3 dimensions? Remember research, where you think outside the box? A couple of examples come to mind. Chad and I went outside the box. Cleon jumped in and is volunteering his time so that we can think outside of the box and do a patient-led research project. And we have just been given an affiliated researcher status with Island Health. So believe me, if I can do it, you can do it too. There's a guy at the University of Victoria that I want to speak about too, Dr. Hector Caruncho. And he invited me to be part of a project to determine the biomarkers. Get this, a biological indicator that may be in your blood that may be able to diagnose depression. Can you imagine that? A simple and easy, a fast test. A diagnosis quickly and a drug that fits that diagnosis. Hector Caruncho is on the leading edge of patient-led research, and he asked me to write a CIHR grant, which I did. I wrote it with him, we collaborated for it, but you know what, if you don't get that grant, I'm still a patient partner. And it's really good to work with an academic at UVic like Hector Caruncho. So come with me on a journey right now to patient-oriented research and patient-led research, because remember, you can be in the driver's seat.
Start by quickly defining what Patient Voices Network is. We're also at a booth after to give you some more detail about it. I'll also share what a good engagement looks like, and then hand it back over to Lisa to talk about how to maintain a good engagement and what a meaningful engagement looks like to her. So, how it differs from health research is PVM does more of the traditional quality improvement work, and it's really hard to find a nice definition that separates the two, so I invite anybody to share one with me afterwards if you have one. But the quality improvement work and the work of PVN, our intention is to improve a program, process, or a system by engaging patients and including them in this work. And the Patient Voices Network, the community of BC patients, families, and caregivers working together with healthcare partners to improve the healthcare system. So our patient partners participate in a variety of focus groups, reviewing educational materials, being on advisory committees, and any other projects focused on improving communication with the public and also improving our healthcare system. And so healthcare partners come to PVN with different projects in mind, and they're looking for patient partners, so we help link them up with a partner that fits their criteria, and then we facilitate that relationship throughout the process. So we're there as a support for you throughout the engagement. And as you can see here, last year we had 265 engagements through PVN, our Patient Voices Network, 15 learning events, 521 new patient partners signed up. And for some island health specific numbers, we do have 269 patient partners on the island. And in 2018, we had 61 engagements through the Patient Voices Network. And so what is a good engagement? So funding is really important. So we really encourage healthcare partners to give yourself lots of time for the planning process and also the PBN recruitment process or whatever recruitment process you're going through. If you allow yourself lots of time, then you can have phone call conversations with potential patient partners, really get a sense of where their experience is and if it's a good fit for your team. This also gives patient partners an opportunity to ask lots of questions and find out if that's a room they feel comfortable with and a room that they feel like they can contribute to. Also having clear expectations and objectives. So the planning phase is such an important phase of a good engagement. We want to make sure we have everything in place to really set both healthcare partners and patient partners up for success. So we also use IAP2 Spectrum. If you look at engagements on our website, it always tells you which level of engagement it fits in. So again, they're inform, consult, involve, collaborate, and empower. So it's just a really good framework for setting those expectations and allowing patient partners to know how they'll be involved in the project. It's important for those offering the engagement to be very clear and detailed in what they're asking of that patient partner. Also, it's very important to listen and to share. So the emphasis here is really that it is a two-way street. We're all here to listen and to share when it's appropriate and relevant. So we need to provide space and patient partners to do both. And tied to this idea, it's important to use accessible language. So I think in the healthcare field, we can all be guilty of using those acronyms. So just being mindful of the language that we're using so that everybody can be included in those conversations and know what's going on. Really having ongoing communication and feedback is very important. So this is something that the Patient Voices Network has really been pushing for. We have a Closing the Loop form you can find on our website, and it's really just asking you about the outcomes of the engagement and how that patient partner made an impact. And the intention is to share that with the patient partner or ideally completing the form with them. And then on that same note, providing updates throughout the project. So sometimes projects will hit a standstill for a reason and a couple months will go by without having meetings or anything, and that's totally fine, completely normal. But it's just giving the patient partner that update, kind of saying that no update is still an update in itself, and it just makes them feel included and as an equal member of the team if you provide those updates. And so these are just some guiding principles that we share with our healthcare partners who are looking to engage patient partners in their work. Once they engage, as engagement leaders, take a back seat. We're always here for support as needed, but I'm going to let Lisa speak to more of how to maintain that good engagement is really when her role as a patient partner gets going.
Hello again. All right, so here's the slide on how to maintain a good engagement, a warm welcome. You know what the most important warm welcome I ever got was? Taylor Mainstock, the BC support unit, went to bat for me, gave me a business card, and my business card says patient partner. I am really proud of that. So that's the kind of warm welcome that a healthcare provider or a health research group. Meaningful work. Well, that's a big topic. What is meaningful? Is meaningful a subjective term? Is it an objective term? Meaningful means you're representing yourself. If you're on a research project, or you're on an advisory group, or you are sitting in front of a whole bunch of researchers, you are not representing all patients. You are representing yourself. But the interesting thing is, do it if you're not interested. This is not something for the less than passionate. You have to be involved. How does the system retain patients in a high level volunteers for the most part. We haven't even begun to talk about patient reimbursement and patient compensation, patient-oriented puzzle. But how does the system retain people on the far right? Lots of patient advocates would like to say that they don't even start, but unfortunately, I don't think that's the reality we face. Anyways, that question of retaining patient partners at a high level, that's the work that Chad and I are doing, assisted by Dr. Hamilton. So please come and talk to me afterwards. Now, using available resources, please, patient partners are the resource. Talk to other patient partners. And don't forget what I said, the BC Support Unit and Patient Voices Network, and the Quality and Safety Council are here to help you. Bring your research ideas to them. Talk to Ashley. Talk to Taylor. Talk to the other members of the team. Finally, respecting that group dynamic. In research, you might be pushing against an established PAC order. But think about it in three-dimensional space all around you. People are collaborating. Research is organic, but it only moves ahead these days with patient partners' input. So knock on doors, pick people's brains, and get on with it. Okay, the next slide, meaningful engagement. I love these traffic analogies. Like patient-oriented research is like a road which has different traffic signals. It might be a bumpy road, it might be a smooth road, but it's a one-way street. I don't quite agree that it's a two-way street, it's a one-way being led by patients, but that's just my take on it. Time and the day. Well, I would actually like to rework that to say the time of the day, because when you're a member of a team, it's a basic acknowledgement that you are working as part of a team. You are not there as the leader. You are not the leader if you are a patient. You are a part of the team. And that collaborative spirit carries patients through the day. Now, telling your story is a really important part of the patient-oriented research puzzle. Never vent. Being a patient partner on a research project means it's not therapy. You're advocating for change. And maybe establishing boundaries is a good one, but the three key words are listen, talk, repeat. Listen, talk, repeat. Listen. You know, with the UVic research that I'm doing with Dr. Hector Caruncho, I go into the lab and I sit there and I listen to people talk about depression, and I listen to scientists, and I listen to the language that they're using. And that is why it's so interesting to me, because you learn a language. But the most important thing I've learned is that research, the people doing it, they don't bite. Well, sometimes the rats bite the people, but actually the people don't bite. And you don't have to have a white coat on to be a researcher. I'm a researcher. I sat down when Sterling asked me what I was, because I'm a researcher. But I was also a lawyer, and for 15 years. And when you're in court, you might have seen this on shows. Lawyers stand up and they talk politely to each other. And one of them says to the other, "Oh, my learned friend says." And you know what? That is so much a fib. Because I don't like that guy. You know, that learned friend over there? The law is a system trying to be polite, but it really fails on the collegiality circuit. But in research, people are your learned friends. And if you are an expert in your own condition, which you are, and your expertise is as valuable as anybody at the table. I work within the BC Support Unit and with Patient Voices Network because I think we can change the system for the better and advance the patient voice. So remember, you are a patient partner in every sense of the word. Thank you. Now this is Dazzle, and this is Olive. And Dazzle is my dog, and Olive is yours. And they always look at us and say, "Hey." I'm thinking, what is she always asking questions. Does she want to treat? Does she want to go out? Does she want to play? It's meaningful. Stare into your dog's eyes and ask questions. Mostly, it's treats. So please treat us to your questions. If you have them, we will try our best to answer them.
Hello, my name is Angel. I consider myself today a trainee in health research because I haven't really started my research. And so I want to know if there are any expectations an agreement between the health researcher and the health partner so that we can have a template for them so that we don't really go some
It's a really good question. It's a really good question.
You can start on pause.
A health agreement. Well, the only health agreement I've ever signed is the one that I signed with Island Health a few weeks ago, which was the affiliated research agreement. So in terms of, I would love it if there was a patient partnering agreement. I would love it if there was a code of conduct that you could rely upon so that every patient would know what the ground or what the landscape is going to be. But I've never seen one, not in my work with Hector and not in my experience with PBN. There are orientation sessions. There are lots of preparation things that you undertake to become a patient partner with the Patient Voices Network. So maybe actually can speak more to that.
Yeah, it is a good question. I'm just kind of drawing a blank. There's not, like Lisa was saying, there's not really an agreement, but in our Patient Voices Network orientation, we do talk about the BC support unit. So we try and keep a close relationship and keep all the patient partners informed of both areas. But in terms of an agreement, it doesn't yet exist.
Okay, now there's a great topic for a research project. You got it, right now.
Just wondering, thank you for your very good comment, by the way, that I'll also contextualize as a team effort and everybody working together. My question is, you talked about the importance of the story. And I'm wondering, because the story is really what drives that lived experience, that brings that knowledge and that want to make a difference, having gone through challenges in the system. What's that balance? How do you find that balance when you get onto a research team and you're trying to optimize the learning that you bring, the knowledge and perspective you bring from having lived that story, without, you mentioned, it's not a therapy route. So how do you navigate that one?
With difficulty. I think it really depends, I think it really depends on your audience. I think if you trust the people that you're working with, and you've got a sense that they're interested in the emotional impact that you will have had on your lived experience as a patient partner, then you use that to your advantage. Emotions are powerful allies in addressing the question of how to fit in to an established research team on a committee or what have you. On the other hand, in order to be the most effective advocate, a professional demeanor is much important. Not living your experience again. Perhaps that might re-traumatize you. I think a combination of both. So Teflon is a lovely coating, and sometimes I used to wear it in court. A Teflon coat, and things would just wash off. Especially with my German friend traveling away, it's something he didn't really know. I would say the balance, striking that balance between a professional and a personal note is really the heart of the patient experience, because you do have lived experience and you will never be able to walk away from it. So that balance, that's the magic.
I would also add to that, I think it's always so valuable to share your lived experience, relevant, and you feel comfortable. So I guess in terms of it not being a therapy session, it's just not sharing it just because you need to get it out, but sharing it when it really applies to what you're discussing. And then I would encourage anybody who feels comfortable to share that lived experience, because it is meaningful and so important to the work.
All right, thank you. Okay, so you know what time it is. I'm back up here again. So it is time for another quicker question. So this time we would like to ask, if you were going to partner in a research project, why would you be most likely to participate as a patient partner in research? Would it be just because you're curious, to help improve healthcare, a combination of those, to gain some more knowledge of condition, or again, you just don't want to be involved in health research, and that's also okay? Okay, I'm calling it.
There's a few people that leave.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Aha, so we have a good-hearted people who really want to improve healthcare, which is wonderful, and also people who are equally curious, so that is great. All right. So we have one more for you here. So this is something that we're interested to know. So what knowledge or skills could we offer you that would make it so that you could become involved in health research as a patient? Pick your top choice, since you can only pick one. So would it be more helpful to have a better understanding of health research, a better understanding of the healthcare system as a whole, leadership from a seasoned patient partner, practical skills like how to work as part of a team, or no new knowledge or skills needed, you are ready to rumble? Couple more seconds. Okay, let's see what the graph shows. Okay, so some better understanding of health research and mentorship. I would absolutely agree that that is a huge piece. That's great. All right. I would like to introduce our last speaker for the day. So Hannah Roy is going to come and talk about her research experience.
So my name is Hannah, and I'd like to take a moment and thank the BC Support Unit, specifically Taylor Hainstock, for her support and encouragement throughout my patient partner experience, as well as Dr. Lee and the research team. I would also like to thank and acknowledge the Songhees and Lekwungen people who share their land upon which I present. So I will begin with sharing my journey. Do you remember the medical sick room in every elementary, middle, and high school? Often in a dark room with a pitchy wool blanket and no window? Well, some of my early memories surrounding my health concerns involved the office secretary meeting me with a stern look, suspicious face, and sending me into that room until one of my parents could pick me up. It was hard to ignore the comments from concerned adults around me. Anxiety was causing my stomach aches. Unfortunately, my abdominal pain was assessed as an anxiety issue by several healthcare professionals. Cases of Crohn's disease and irritable bowel syndrome occurred when I was assessed at BC Children's Hospital when I was 13 years old. Much of my youth and early adulthood life was plagued by doctor's appointments, new medications, injections, emergency room visits, hospitalizations, surgeries, and invasive procedures. With the support of my family and friends, I tried my best to live a normal young adult life. But there were many times in which my peers were taking on new challenges and adventures just stuck. When I entered into the post-secondary world, a 4-year degree took me 6 years to complete due to reduced course loads and multiple hospitalizations. So let's fast forward to May 2017. I acquired recurrent C. difficile infection because of the overuse of antibiotics for suspected infection and my compromised immune system as I was on a biologic medication to treat my Crohn's and ankylosing spondylitis. Hospitalized for a total of 14 days, I was unable to eat or drink on my own for 9 days and was faced with the possibility of losing a portion of my colon. Luckily, my gastroenterologist was aware of Dr. Lee's study with fecal microbiota transplants, also known as FMT. Due to my chronic health conditions and recurrent C. difficile infection, I was a viable candidate to receive fecal microbiota transplant and be a part of the study. So what was life like post-FMT? I am now 2 years into receiving fecal microbiota transplants, and I'm grateful to share that my Crohn's disease is in remission and I no longer suffer from irritable bowel syndrome. I am currently 5 months away from completing a postbaccalaureate degree in nursing, which would have never been possible prior to FMT. Due to the excess that FMT has had on my health, I was offered to participate in Dr. Lee's research as a patient partner to share my lived experience. My involvement as a patient partner has been nothing short of an exceptional experience. I was fortunate to be connected directly with Dr. Lee through my gastroenterologist. Other ways patients and their families can be connected to patient-oriented research is through someone like Taylor, who I like to call the matchmaker. In simple terms, as they connect patients and citizens interested in research with the appropriate projects and studies they could be involved in. My involvement as a patient partner in Dr. Lee's research and study has evolved over time. In the beginning, I mostly attended meetings, suggested main determinants of health that could be evaluated when surveying patients of life pre- and post-C. difficile infection and FMT. As time progressed, I began to co-present my lived experience with Dr. Lee at various events, such as the BC Health Science Conference, the Ministry of Health, and Infectious Disease Day at Royal Jubilee Hospital. I heard for the video that we will be watching later on in this presentation, and I am hoping to co-author a paper on the qualitative analysis of the lived experience of individuals living with C. difficile infection and also receiving FMT. As a patient partner, I have felt completely supported throughout my journey. Various research members check in with me frequently to ensure that I do not feel overwhelmed or bombarded by various research tasks. With patient-oriented research, choose how involved they would like to be. One of the major reasons I wanted to participate as a patient partner in health research was the ability to bring the lived experience of an illness to help guide and support research. Also, I wanted to support the reduction of stigma surrounding gut issues, but in general, but specifically C. difficile infection. Because of the unpleasant and at times embarrassing symptoms, many patients feel ashamed and isolated. I have been fortunate to have attended post-secondary education, which has allowed me to step into the area of research. Lived experience provides valuable information that cannot be obtained from a textbook. I believe that we need to break down the barriers which prevent the public from participating in research. There are countless benefits of being a patient partner in health research. One can think of patient-oriented research as a two-way street, as there are benefits to all parties involved. During this process, my opinion was acknowledged and valued, and I felt like an equal partner. As citizens, we access health services from primary health care services to emergency departments and various diagnostic testing. Information and knowledge of lived experience can contribute to shaping the healthcare policy, accessibility, and various services. Healthcare research needs to embrace first-hand knowledge of patient partners and their families. Ultimately, they are the ones accessing the medical healthcare system. The greatest benefit I have experienced is my ability to pay it forward. My involvement as a patient partner will benefit future patients and improve the quality of care they receive. As a student nurse, the lived experience will guide my practice and support furthering patient-oriented research. Lived experience brings knowledge that research cannot be provided through traditional studies of science. Maya Angelou once stated that words mean more than what is set down on paper, and it takes the human's voice to infuse them with deeper meaning. I want to thank you, and I hope you enjoy the following video that I sent. It is evidence of the hard copy of my incredible journey as a patient partner with Dr. Christine Lee and our research team. I don't want to press.
Hi, my name is Hannah, and I am one of the 40,000 Canadians each year who have suffered from Clostridium difficile infection, also known as C. diff infection. C. diff causes debilitating pain and diarrhea which can last from weeks to months. Recently, I've only to hear an announcement that the washroom was out of service. I had a moment of panic. This was one of my worst fears. My life revolved around having access to a bathroom. Let me take you on my painful journey with Crohn's and irritable bowel syndrome, a journey that was complicated by C. diff infection. Along with being physically debilitating, C. diff infection causes pain and diarrhea. These chronic gut illnesses made my emotional and social life a turbulent nightmare. I frequently had stomach aches that became more intrusive and robbed me of a lighthearted childhood. I had to complete many of my courses at home, socially isolated. I watched life carry on, and in my grad year, I felt profound sadness over missing out on lifelong memories. I have spent many years of my life in specialist offices, emergency departments, and hospital rooms. My 4-year university degree took 6 years to complete. My emotional and physical health plummeted at times. After multiple rounds of antibiotics for a suspected bladder infection, I contracted severe recurrent C. diff infection. I was hospitalized, faced possible surgery to remove part of my colon, and I had never felt so ill in my life. I wondered if I would survive this horrific infection. Turns out that my recurrent C. diff infection had a silver lining. I was eligible to receive fecal transplants through a research study. Fecal transplants, also known as FMT, is given by, it's a simple and painless procedure in which donors' healthy feces is inserted into my digestive tract. Some people may be grossed out by the idea, but I was desperate to get better, and research studies have found that FMT is 85% effective in curing recurrent C. diff infection. After 2 FMT treatments, my C. diff infection was gone. I still receive ongoing FMT treatments for my Crohn's and irritable bowel, and I am now pain-free and healthy. At 20, I'm in my final year of my nursing degree. What seemed like an impossible dream when I was ill. Becoming a nurse is becoming a reality. Soon I'll be able to pay it forward for the exceptional care I received from the FMT team, led by Dr. Christine Lee at Island Health. I am also paying it forward by using my lived experience of C. diff infection to inform FMT research studies. I am also sharing my story in the hope that more people will receive this life-changing treatment. Back home, I remind myself that those fearful days are over. My life is dramatically and positively improved thanks to fecal transplants. I confidently sit back, enjoy the flight, looking forward to my future, full of potential.
So before questions, you'll notice that there was a piece of paper put on your chairs, and it's a survey regarding the FMT and C. diff. And we'll actually use the results from that paper in our reach evaluation. So if you could please fill that out, that would be greatly appreciated. Where will we put them when we finish filling them out? Cheryl, who was our project leader, we'll take that. So is there any questions, comments?
Thank you for a really neat video that sort of sanitizes a subject that most people feel queasy about.
Yeah.
So did you feel a little enlightened after going through this process and producing that? Like it's more manageable? Like
I'm definitely in a completely different place than I ever could have imagined. And I also feel that, like just coping in general is better as well, coming out on this side of things.
I can have many friends with kids, that have been helicoptered over to children's, and when I saw this, I thought, oh my goodness, like what a fantastic gift you've given those kids and families with that video and your experience. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
It's less of a question, but maybe a bit more of a clarification piece. So you've been involved in sort of a spectrum of roles on the research team. So everything from helping develop what might be important to measure, so building a research proposal.
Yeah.
And then this is a totally different project that focuses on that. The knowledge translation.
Yeah.
So that's two very distinct opportunities in the research realm that you've had a chance to be a part of.
Yeah.
And I thought that was just maybe important to distinguish that although we're still probably waiting for some big funding to come through, that this is another way that people can still get involved and it's within that health research realm. Just look a little different.
Yeah, there's such a diversity of different events or projects you can be involved in. And like I said, I was constantly checked in on to make sure that I was comfortable and it wasn't too much. But you really get to choose your involvement as a patient partner.
Okay, so once more with feeling with the clickers. This is the last round. So this, as Rebecca mentioned, we moved the needle with today's presentation, so we're going to ask you this question again, and please be honest, but it'll probably be pretty similar. So what comes to mind when you hear the words health research?
The response time was fast.
It was fast. It's true. Okay. Let's see if the graph changed.
If it did, that was
Excellent. Great. All right, so we have one more last piece. So congratulations, you have just contributed to health research. How did you find it? Was it hard, easier than you thought it would be, or kind of about what you thought it would be?
Yeah.
Okay, 2 more seconds. Okay, let's see. So it was not super painful. So like Hannah was saying and Taylor was saying, there's so many different ways you can be involved in health research, and it can be as full or as simple as you'd like it to be. So thank you very much for humoring me with these wonderful devices. I'm going to turn it over to Rebecca to explain what comes next.
So 3 orders of business left. First is to thank our amazing speakers. So I'm going to hand out some cards. Well, I'm doing that. The next super exciting draw for a fabulous prize. We call it health chocolate. So we'll do, hopefully, if anyone didn't get a ticket, maybe just put up your hand so everyone's in the draw. We have Naomi, Colleen, which are honors.
One important note while the draw is happening. Please don't leave the room with the clickers. They don't belong to us and they've been graciously loaned to us, so make sure that the clickers stay over for your TVs. Or just leave them on the chair. That'll be perfect. Do we have a winner?
2 winners. Ticket number 1 is 587994.
All right, and the second winner is 5879
this day came to be. So unlike some of the other 5 days in May events that we have here going on all throughout May at Untitled, ours was a little bit different. We were doing a little bit less research information providing and really focusing it on a day to build skills, give people some more information on how they could get involved in health research under the strategy for patient-oriented research. So way back when, and I go back January-ish, we ran a little poll with our patient partner community and said, hey guys, in May, we have a day that we get to decide what we want to do. What do you want us to do? What's of interest to you? So we threw that out to about 115 of our community members, our patient partner registry, and the #1 response that came back was a day around skills, tools, how to build a toolkit, get involved. So patient engagement, citizen scientists, was of interest to people. So we kind of thought, okay, so it's not topic specific, but we're going to go with it. So the booth and skill building piece of this day is happening now. And I like to do sort of speed dating, if you will. So we have 6 different booths spread out throughout the room, and on your chairs you have a little booth legend. And our fancy color coding system is whatever booth is of interest to you to learn a little bit more about that topic is going to color coordinate to the balloons that are at the tables around. So we have 6 different areas of interest. The purple balloon at top here is to talk with Lisa about being a patient leader in research, driving that research. Partner Chad Dickey, who's actually not here, but Clayton Hamilton is also going to be helping her to talk about that process of getting things going from a patient perspective. We have a booth here in the yellow. I don't know what that's with me, but that's Jenny. She's on our team and she's our knowledge broker, and she's going to talk about how to assess health information. So journal articles and grade literature and what you know is reliable and meaningful, and how are you going to understand that the data that's being communicated. So she's going to have a booth over there. We have Ashley, who's going to be talking about Patient Voices Network a little bit more. If you have questions on how to develop a patient partner, sort of communicating your lived experience in a meaningful way, that's the blue balloon down there. I'm at the far end, and I'm sort of resources for patient partners, so trying to give folks an understanding of how we, as a regional center here in Victoria, can help you. I'm staring right at you. I'm not a matchmaker. I'm the person who sort of pulls together teams, people with lived experience who have that interest to get involved, and research teams that are out there. I can make that happen. More information about that and how that all kind of works at the back. We have a really cool table on the far side with the red balloon. Dan and Beth are back there, and Justin's floating around somewhere. And they're talking about the power that social media has for patient partners. So if you're curious about Twitter and Facebook and what's out there for patient partners and patient-oriented research and kind of who you need to follow, what hashtags are important and all that stuff, they're at that booth. And then up top here in the green one, we have the Greater Victoria Public Library, and they're going to have a couple different pieces of information. You can sign up for a library card if you don't have one, but then how to navigate the library system and what's out there, and how to really maximize services that are in our community. So stick around. We're going to try to do 2 rounds of 10 minutes, so pick a booth that's really curious to learn more about. We'll do 10 minutes. We'll somehow figure out how to wrap people up in around 10 minutes. We'll do 2 rounds of it, and then it's kind of free for all of you with questions, and you want to just chat with different folks at booths, a little bit more of a networking group. And there is so much food left over at the back. 2 catering is awesome, but they don't want it back. So make sure that you guys grab some snacks, and then we'll get started in about 5 minutes.